Why does my child misbehave so much? In this lesson, we'll review those factors that researchers have shown relate or predict child misbehavior. One of the factors that predicts whether children will misbehave or not is their personality. Another word for personality is temperament. And psychologists who study children and misbehaviors understand that there's just some parts of our personality and who we are that are hardwired into us. And if you're a parent who has had multiple kids, you realize this pretty fast that some of your kids' behaviors you really saw from very early ages, and you didn't have time to shape them or contribute to them because they were like that almost from birth. If you've also had multiple kids, you realize that they didn't all start out the same in terms of personality. So some children have what are called difficult temperaments. They're harder to soothe, they are more irascible and irritable, they require greater predictability. It's these sort of traits that just make them more difficult in terms of encountering frustration later on in life. So temperament is one factor. Another factor that relates to children who misbehave are situational stresses or stressful life events. Specifically, going through some hard experiences like having a family who is experiencing divorce, moving, being picked on at school, having high conflict around the child in the child's neighborhood. These situational stresses also contribute to misbehavior because the child doesn't have the coping skills in order to sufficiently contain all of these negative experiences and the stress that involves. The third issue is parenting styles, and this is the focus of our course and our work together. Now, there are two main dimensions or attributes of parenting styles that researchers have shown to be especially important when we try to look at why children misbehave or not. Now, the first area is called parental warmth. And parental warmth is the love, care, affection, and involvement that parents communicate to their children. So a parent who expresses lots of warmth is very involved. It's very, very caring. Lots of communication. Again, it's this open, affectionate relationship that a parent has. On the other hand, low warmth parents are more removed. They display more hostility, more anger. Sometimes this is because a parent is experiencing a hard time themselves and they're clinically depressed, so they don't have as much to give, so it's harder for them to express that warmth because they're just feeling so drained themselves, so warmth. The second important parenting trait or behavior is control. Control is how a parent sets limits with their kid when their child misbehaves. So a parent who is high on this dimension is doing control in respectful ways, yet still manage to be firm and decisive when needed. So an example, so a child is disrespectful to a parent, that parent actually puts a consequence in place or explains clearly why the behavior is inappropriate. Now, there's different ways where this dimension can become problematic. Some parents are low control, meaning they could be high on warmth, but low on control, so they end up to be very kind and thoughtful and loving doormats. So their children take advantage of them. Other parents are very high on control, but do so without warmth, so the control effectively is undermined. These are parents who are trying to micromanage their children. They're expressing lots of anger and they're yelling or they're overly strict. So the moral of the story on this one in terms of parenting and what the skills that we will address will try to help you achieve is how to couple warmth with effective control. It's the marriage between these two dimensions that is especially important. So, how to be involved and loving and caring and to communicate interest and empowering the child with choices and fortifying that relationship, but also using an arsenal of control strategies that are not coercive or cruel or too harsh. They'll be firm because, again, it's not being a permissive parent who's a doormat, but instead one who can set limits, which is a very important part of effective or what's called authoritative parenting. It's using skills like timeouts and logical consequences and natural consequences, using reward systems that encourage a child. So warmth and control are what we'll be addressing in the remainder of the class. Thanks for listening.